In the previous lesson, we learned about data types in Dart. Now in this lesson, we will be understanding another core concept of Dart, and that is return types. Return types are used with functions and they determine what type of data will be returned by the function. So let's get started by creating a main function that will be our entry point. So main function, and inside of this function we will be calculating the square of a number. So let me create another function as well. So calculate square. So now this calculate square will expect a variable which is of number type. So required number type of data, and then the num data be my variable name. So now for calculating the square, we need to multiply this number twice. So let me create a variable. So var results equals to num data into num data. Right? Now if we multiply this number with the same number, then we will be getting the result, and the result will be of number type. So we are safe to write number over here instead of var, because we will be using the appropriate data types from now on. So num results. Now instead of just printing this output, I want to return this output from my function. So what I need to do is return, use the return keyword, and then the thing that you want to return. So I'll be returning the results. Now whenever any other function calls this calculate square function, then the response of this function or the output will be the results. Now in this function you can see that we are returning a number type, right? So we can simply provide return type of this function as number. Now what this return type does is that it ensures that the return value of this function is always a number. So if I try to replace this with string, then I can only return the string and not the number. So I am getting an error. A num can be returned from a function calculate square because it is of return type string. So let me replace this string with a number and everything will be fine. So now we will be calling this calculate square function from the main function. So let's print over here. So the square result is, and then here will be the result, right? Now we need to call this calculate square function from this main function, and this return type is number, right? So we'll be providing the data type num, and then the results, and this result we can access from calculate square. So calculate square, and then it will be expecting a number. So num data is 2, right? Now by doing so, this function is called, and the value that it returns will be saved into our variable results. We can also change this, say results data. It doesn't matter because we are only saving the variable value. So now let me end this with semicolon as well. And now we need to provide this results data in our print statement. So I can do that simply by copying this and using it over here. Now if I run this code, you can see that I'll be getting an output, but our results data is not being replaced by this result data. So if you want to provide dynamic data in Dart string, then you need to use this $sign right before the variable. So now if I run this, I'll be getting the square result is 4. So this is how we use return types in our function. Now whenever we write any function, we need to always use the return type. But as you can see in this main function, we are not returning anything. So what type of return type can you use in this type of function? So we can simply use void. Void meaning that this function will return nothing, right? Void means nothing, so this function is not returning anything. Now if I try to return some data, then I will be getting an error saying that this main function is of return type void, but I am returning of type string, so I am getting an error. So if you are not returning anything, then you are returning a void, meaning nothing, right? So whenever we write a function, we provide return types to them. So you can leverage the full capacity of data type or type checks in Dart. So I'll see you at the next lesson.